Okay, so we're going to look at ring dip with feet on the floor. So this would be your first introduction to using the rings. And it's also, once you're used to the rings, it's also a really good way to warm up and get the depth. So I find that I start with a comfortable position is to start with the rings about hip height, but you can take them higher as you get more competent. And you want them so they're quite close together. Okay, so you don't want to be having them too wide because you want to be able to hug the rings in to your sides, and then bring the feet directly underneath where the straps are. So you'll have that, just so the rings are by your sides. You can have your feet wider or however you want, and then all you're going to do is just bend your knees and then let your body weight come down so the rings are touching your shoulders, supporting your weight on the floor, and then you're going to push back up. So to start with, really, really, really gentle, because you want to get the warm up in that range of the dip. So like I say, these are really good ways to actually warm up. So you can do these as any type of warm up before you do ring muscle up work. But when you're learning, we want to just come down, get that position, support the weight on the floor, and then, start to push yourself up. So then what you would do as you get a little bit warmer and a little bit stronger is when you come down, you'd lift the heels, you'll start to come on the toes, and then you'll start to add some resistance in. Okay, so that you're basically performing the ring dip, but you have support of your feet on the floor. Yeah, so you've got that little bit of support all the time, and just trying to make sure that you can get into that turnout position at the top. It's really good practice to try and get the top hold, which is just turning the rings out at the top. So if the rings are too high, you won't be able to do that unless you bring your feet off the floor. Okay, so just play with the ring position. You'll know where it starts to feel good for you. Yeah, and as you get stronger, the rings will come higher, so you'll have less sort of support off the floor. So you get into a nice deep dip, because obviously for ring muscle up, you're going to be in this position where the rings are actually touching the shoulders, because when you come through from the transition in a pull, you're obviously going to be here. Yeah, so you'd come through and you'd find this position. So you need to be able to go into that deep dip position, and it can be quite tight around the shoulder area when you first start. So you've got to go quite slowly with it, and use the feet on the floor and really building up that that mobility as well. So it's just as much about mobility as it is about the strength. So like I say, just like that. Yeah. So at the moment I'm using my feet a lot. There's not a lot of weight onto the rings. These are actually probably a little bit too high. Just lower them down a wee bit. Always make sure that the rings are level. So I've lost count of how many hours I've spent making sure rings are level. And then when you start to be able to, you can push up in that top bit and have that hollow hold, and just try and find that scoop. Yeah, so down, push up, turn out. Down, push up, turn out. So when you're doing that turn out, you're going to pull the rings in to your side, whether the feet are on the floor or not.